Thank you everyone for joining us. Welcome. This is our James Joyce's Dublin info session. My name is Matt Welton. I'm the Assistant Director of Travel Study here at the Graham School. And tonight I'll be joined by Kendall Sharp. Kendall is a basic program instructor and he's the trip scholar on this. Many of you may currently be in a class with Kendall if you're studying Ulysses or if you've gone through the basic program. For those who don't know Kendall, he's fantastic to travel with. Just traveled with him in Greece, and it couldn't have been a better. I see Mary's also shaking her head. It really couldn't have been a better experience. All right, so tonight I am going to start off by giving a brief overview of the program, and then turn it over to Kendall, who will go into detail about studying Joyce on the very streets where Joyce lived, wrote, and observed. Part of the joy of this trip is reading these texts, surrounded by the history and the politics of the region. Because as you know, if you've cracked open Joyce or really many, Irish authors of the era, it's steeped in politics that we don't really have a great understanding of. So hopefully we'll be able to grab those folks from the James Joyce Centre and ask them, what the heck does this mean? What are these, what are these different factions and people and such? Now tonight, since there's a bunch of us, what we were going to do is do the chat, Zoom chat. Feel free to do that anytime. But as we get into the Q&A, we'll probably just open it for hand raising and all that kind of stuff. If you do want to submit a question in the chat icon is located at the bottom of your Zoom window. It's a thought bubble with the word chat on it. Click on that and then type your question or comment into the text box and send it on your way. So we're scheduled to stop tonight at 7, so we might not get to all the questions. And if we don't get to your question, please feel free to email me directly at mwelton@uchicago.edu, and I'll be more than happy to reply with an answer. And just now, I will put put that in the chat. This is me padding as well as we're waiting for people.
I just did it, Matt.
You put yours in the chat.
Yeah, I put yours as well, but
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, feel free to reach out at any time if something pops into your head, if you have any question at all and stuff. Now, as we get started, we recommend that you use speaker view during this program. If you're not on it already, your view controls are located at the top right of your Zoom screen, or any way you want to look at that. I've also put in the website to the James Joyce's Dublin trip. So after this session, I invite you to visit that website. Link is on this slide here, and the link is also in the chat. When you're here, you will find an overview of the program, including a sample itinerary listing the sites we'll visit. Please note that the itinerary order may change as we plug in additions and surprises. We're working with the James Joyce Centre and some other organizations, and so navigating some experiences that will cause some of the dates to switch around. Although what you see online, we're going to do all those things. It just might be the order might change here and there. And we'll probably do a lot more also. Also on this website, you can view the pricing and cancellation policies in the FAQ section, and you can register for the program. The registration is now currently open. So this September, we're going to embark on what's truly a one-of-a-kind travel study experience, a week in Dublin diving into the works of James Joyce. For this trip, we're partnering with the James Joyce Centre in Dublin, which will give us access to local scholars and guides that are passionate about both Joyce and the culture he wrote about. We're working on behind-the-scenes access to Joyce archives at the Museum of Literature and the National Library, and we'll hold basic program-style discussion sessions and readings in some truly unique locations. The director of the James Joyce Centre, Darina Gallagher, told Kendall and I that this program that we're collaborating on in September far exceeds the scope of anything that the center has done in its 40-year history. So hopefully this week-long experience will be something that they'll want to repeat, we'll want to repeat, and kicks off a nice tradition. During this trip, we'll be visiting sites from Joyce's novels and short stories, walking in the very footsteps of Stephen Dedalus and Leopold Bloom. Now, while this trip will focus on Ulysses, Dubliners and a portrait of the artist of a young man will also be widely discussed. Knowledge of Joyce's works will certainly enrich your experience, but you don't have to have read them to register for the trip. Prior to departure, we'll give you a reading list, and the trip will be structured so that students coming at Ulysses for the first time will receive a masterful introduction, while those familiar with the text will experience an immersive deep dive. Now, if you are a Joyce fan or fanatic, this trip will bring you to stand at the very spot where plump Buck Mulligan holds his bowl of lather aloft, where Leopold Bloom picks up a bar of lemon soap, and where the rhododendrons grow on Howth Head. Now, if you're not a Joyce fanatic, you will get to learn what all of those references mean. Our partnership with the James Joyce Centre will provide us unique access to Joyce's world. Founded on Bloomsday in 1982, the center opened on the 100th year anniversary of Joyce's birth. Originally run by descendants of Joyce, the center is an educational museum and cultural institution which promotes the life, literature, and legacy of one of modern world's most important authors. The Joyce Centre is housed in a Georgian townhouse in Dublin's North Inner Centre, and the centre hosts walking tours, exhibitions, workshops, and lectures for both Joycean scholars and the general public. For 40 years, the center has been the focal point for a worldwide celebration of James Joyce's legacy, planning the city's yearly Bloomsday Festival. Anyone who's ever been to Dublin for the Bloomsday Festival knows that that's a pretty big event that they host there. Our hotel that we stay in is actually going to be located quite close to the Joyce Center. And the Joyce Center, on most days, will be our main starting point for a series of walking tours, discussions, and lectures. Now, while this tour will focus on the works of James Joyce, we'll also explore Ireland's rich literary traditions, with general visits to the iconic Book of Kells, the National Library, the Museum of Literature, the Abbey Theatre, and the neighborhood where Oscar Wilde lived, just to name a few. To understand these literary traditions, we'll dive into Ireland's past with a visit to the National Museum focusing on their archaeological collection, and we'll embark on a day-long excursion to the UNESCO World Heritage Neolithic landscape of the Boyne Valley, including Newgrange and other sites that are actually older than the pyramids of Giza. So while this trip will focus on Dublin and the surrounding areas, we do have that excursion out to the Boyne Valley, which should be a nice thing to see. Now, no visit to Dublin is complete without an exploration of its rich and vital music and pub culture. We'll have the opportunity to set out nightly to raise a pint at the Guinness Storehouse. We'll stomp our feet along to some traditional music, and we'll contemplate current trends in Dublin's vibrant theater scene. So our trip sets out in December. And now September is a month where the average temperatures can hover around 59 degrees Fahrenheit, and the crowds are starting to thin out. Although, as anyone in the travel industry will tell you, September's still a pretty popular time in Dublin. What's compounding the popularity this year is there is a rumor and speculation that the NFL will hold a football game in Dublin sometime in September. The rumor on the street is that it happens the week after we are there. But all these things mean, increased tourism. Although in September, we'll see that those tourist spots, those tourists begin to thin out a bit. Now, we're going to be right on the cusp of fall. So the weather will likely fluctuate. Anyone who knows who's been over there, some days might be good for a t-shirt, and then bam, another day you might need a sweater. So the key thing here is to dress in layers and always be prepared for the possibility of rain. So a raincoat is definitely needed. One thing that you absolutely must pack if you join us on this trip without hesitation is a pair of comfortable walking shoes, because there will be a significant amount of walking on city streets and sidewalks. And then there'll also be a day in the countryside where we walk around potentially rocky terrain while we're in these archaeological sites and such. I do want to emphasize that the bulk of this is a walking tour. We're going to have coach buses, and they're going to take us outside of Dublin when we go to Sandy Cove, Howth, and the Boyne Valley. But most days, the Joyce Centre will be leading us around town on foot so we can visit each one of the locations. Public buses are frequent, and we can certainly coordinate to hop on Ubers or taxis. But many of the guided walking tours that we're setting out to are going to be about 2 and 3 hours in length. So do keep that in mind when you're packing shoes. During this trip, we plan on staying in the Dublin One Hotel. The Dublin One is a newer, modern-styled hotel located near the James Joyce Centre. This hotel is comparable to the hotels that are popping up around New York City that you might be familiar with. They're contemporary looks with rooms that are smaller than you would find in other cities. So the online reviews to this praise the cleanliness and the attentive and friendly staff. And this is one of the hotels at the James Joyce Centre said, "Oh, stay here. It's close to us." So the hope is that we'll be close enough to the James Joyce Centre for our daily excursions. All visits on the itinerary to all museums and such are included in your price. We're looking to add some experiences not yet online. If we do, those will also be included. Daily breakfast is included at the hotel. Most lunches are included, with the exception one or two times we might be in a museum where there's a cafe that might be more convenient for people to grab something and go. But most lunches will be included. And we're also including a welcome and a farewell dinner. The other nights, we build in some time for you to explore the city at leisure. So on these nights, you can either set off by yourself, or you can grab Kendall and I, or fellow travelers, and we can set out for a bite, a pint, or a performance together. Kendall and I are more than happy to make each outing a group outing. So anybody who wants to explore Dublin and the nightlife with us, we're here for that and such. One thing to note, Dublin's a bit more expensive than other European cities. So for food and such, it's closer to something like London and New York and not as comparable as in Athens for those of you who are used to, spending $15 and getting tremendous amounts of food and all the wine you could drink. Dublin's going to be a little closer to what you would get in London, on general price points. Now, for this and all Graham School trips, international flights from your destination to Dublin are not included. So we strongly recommend that you purchase travel insurance. The University of Chicago doesn't offer insurance, nor do we endorse any travel insurance companies. But if you Google best travel insurance 2025 or click on a list like Forbes or NerdWallet, you'll see some reputable companies like Travel Guard and all those type of things. They're all, you just call them up and they work with your situation. So everyone's probably going to get a different rate about. If this program is canceled by the University of Chicago, you'll receive a full refund. Since flights are not included, we can't reimburse the flight cost of this, is why it's a good idea to get that insurance. The two slides I just showed you are kind of the beginning and the ending of the trip. So this one is the Martello Tower, the James Joyce Tower, where we start our trip either on day one or day two. And then that's in Sandy Cove. And then this is our final night on House Head, where we'll have a farewell. And the hope is that we could take our books or photocopied or Kindle read, and read some of the passages here and stuff. Working with the James Joyce Centre, I think they're very keen on bringing these novels to light and having readings in some unusual places. And we were talking to Dorina, and she was talking about walking over shells on the beach, as mentioned in the text and stuff. So hopefully they'll put you right in the world of James Joyce's work. So applications are currently open on our website. On the site, you'll see a button like the one that's red and the one that's white on the bottom there. Click to register. One is for a double room, the other is for a single room. If you're traveling with a partner and need that double room, each person would have to register on their own. So you'd go and register yourself, and then your partner would go in and register for themselves. Once that you click the registration button, you'll be asked to sign into your Graham School account. They'll prompt you if you forget your sign in and all that kind of stuff, or you can reach out to me and we can say, how do you sign in? You can do the two things. You can pay the trip in full, which is the default the system, or you can pay a $1,200 deposit. If you want to pay a deposit, you would have to click on pay deposit because it automatically tries to get that full amount from you. So at this time, I want to turn over things to our study leader, Kendall Sharp. As many of you know, Kendall, the introduction doesn't need to be as long as I'm about to give it, but I'm going to give the introduction. Kendall is the former Cyril O'Huel Chair and is instructor in the basic program. He holds a PhD from the University of Chicago's Committee on Social Thought and a BA from the college. Kendall has extensive teaching experience, including an assistant professorship at the Department of Classical Studies at the University of Western Ontario, and his research and publishing focuses on Plato's dialogues as literary expressions of the philosophical life. His teaching has included Greek and Latin languages, classics and translation, and both classical mythology and ancient Greek science. Kendall's also teaching several James Joyce classes here at Graham School. He teaches a popular Ulysses course that's currently going on, an upcoming summer course on Dubliners and a portrait, and a future extensive course on Finnegan's Wake.
Here I say join us, and then I say eamus, which is from the first line of one of the later episodes in the novel. It means Latin for let's go. And if you read Ulysses, it's from the Decio Hallis eamus chapter. And then here's the next bit. There will be, so if you've gone on the spring break in Greece trips, or September trips to Greece. We always have a pre-trip seminar with the trip scholar. Let me just explain the trip scholar, the function on a Graham School or basic program trip is for the trip scholar to be an instructor who leads three discussion sections or sessions on the trip. On relevant texts, and for our trip, that relevant text is going to be Ulysses. So anyway, we'll have a pre-trip seminar on August 28th. It'll be on Zoom. It'll be Thursday, which is the 28th of August, at 6 p.m. The purpose of the pre-trip seminar is to talk about the academic side of the trip. So we'll talk about each of the three discussion sessions, and I'll at that time I will be prepared to talk about exactly how we'll spend our time. Now, one of the things that I do have planned is that if you have zero experience with Ulysses, that you can start on Ulysses on this trip. Closer to time, I'll have specific, instructions, page ranges in the novel for you to read. Anyway, so more on that later. As Matt said, in the spirit of shameless promotion, I have some James Joyce courses coming up. One of them, in particular, is to support this trip, and that's the one that is in the summer, July 16 to August 3, and this is on Wednesday mornings. It will be mostly on Dubliners, and then also on Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. This is section number 2 of a course that's already section 1 is filled already. The one on Tuesday, so we're opening one on Wednesdays. If you do go on the trip and you return and you've got a head full of steam for Ulysses, I will repeat my full year course of Ulysses on Monday mornings in the academic year 2025 to 2026. This is ongoing right now on Monday mornings and Friday mornings. We take all 3 quarters of an academic year to go through Ulysses rather slowly. There's nothing like it. Also on Fridays, Finnegan's Wake, I'll be offering. Anyway, enough about that. My email is in the chat, so if you have questions about any of these courses, I'll be happy to entertain them. Another thing that I'll be putting together to put into your hands on the trip is a booklet of the relevant passages from Dubliner's Portrait and Ulysses, and then a little bit of Finnegan's Wake where applicable. And maps as well. The booklet of passages will be, velo bound or something similar. And my idea is to have the page reproduced for, just-in-time literary reference for convenience when we're on the spot at the sites. And speaking of the sites, here we are in a little bit more detail. Now, as Matt said, the itinerary is subject to change in the sense of getting rearranged. I don't think that anything that I have listed I think everything that I've listed will happen. It's just some things might get rearranged in terms of what days they occur on. We'll all arrive on Sunday. Or Saturday, you can come in earlier. But on Monday morning is when we kick off the actual tour. And right now we plan to do day 1 by going to Sandy Cove. And I say Dublin, it should say South Dublin, because we have to take a bus down there. It's too far to walk. I mean, unless you're Stephen. And of course, in Ulysses, he does appear to walk all the way. It's like 2.5 miles or something. And the So the destination is Sandy Cove in South Dublin. We'll take a bus down there. Martello Tower, that is where chapter one or episode one in Ulysses takes place. And it's that round tower that Matt showed us. And then Sandymount Strand is the beach that is not too far from there. And that is the beach where Stephen goes for a walk in chapter three, the episode that's nicknamed Proteus. It's also revisited in episode 13 by Leopold Bloom. And that is where he encounters the character whose first name is Gertie, and her last name is unknown. Martello Tower and Sandymount Strand, and Martello Tower is open for Joyce people to visit. And it's just possible that we'll be able to stand up on top of it and read, like, the first page, right where the first two pages of Ulysses happen on the top of the tower with Buck Mulligan and Stephen Dedalus surveying the Bay of Dublin. That will be one day, or day one. And there will be other things added because from down in the south of Dublin, things worth seeing, like possibly sites from Joyce's life, possibly one school from chapter two of Ulysses, but we just don't know yet. And then on Tuesday, as currently scheduled, we will do what the James Joyce Centre calls their James Joyce walking tour of Dublin. And so this is one of their, they have two different formats for their tours. If you're a civilian and you go over and sign up, they told us that their tours are like, 2 hours. But what they're going to do when they take us on their tours is we will have a souped up version of their tours that'll last quite a bit longer, and go into all of the all of the specificity and the detail that I've requested in our meetings. And so this one will be a walking tour all day, so no bus is needed. Everything is really close by our hotel, their James Joyce walking tour. They'll take us to the north side of town. We'll see Belvedere College. And St. Stephen's Green, and the boarding house from the dead. These are all locations the first two are from Portrait of the Artist as a young man. And then, of course, the dead is the capstone story in the collection of short stories called Dubliners. That boarding house, we'll be able to see it from the outside. I don't think we get to go in. And it'll be something to see, though, because it's had quite a story, I think the last 30 or 40 years. It's one of these locations that, it spent some time on the bottom of the Wheel of Fortune, getting run down, and then it got fixed up and turned into a youth hostel, I think, throughout the 80s and 90s, which that's not a way to go easy on a building. And so I think that it's gotten redone since then, but from the outside, we won't be able to tell the difference. Then number 7 Eccles Street. That is the address where Leopold and Molly Bloom live. The house is no longer there, but as you may imagine, it's marked. The spot is marked with a marker. Worth seeing, not because you want to fill your field of vision with that historical marker, but because one of the main reasons to go to Dublin, if you like Ulysses, is to do the walking. Because it's a pedestrian novel, and Leopold Bloom's day starts at number 7 Eccles Street, and that is also where it ends at the end of the day. And then the Museum of Literature Ireland, and correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but this is where is this one? Is this on St. Stephen's Green?
Near St. Stephen's Green, yep.
Okay. And we hope to be able to do a discussion session there.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to have the sort of white glove tour and behind the scenes, so to speak, and hopefully a discussion as well.
And so this is the one where the photo of the first edition that you had, it lives at the Museum of Literature Ireland. Is that right, Matt? Okay, very good. Yes. So we'll go there. My memory is slipping right now. It's the NyQuil, I think, from last night. The Museum of Literature Ireland, that obviously was not, in business 100 years ago. I believe this was part of the college that Stephen is said to go to in Portrait of the Artist. And now it's one of these things where it used to be, like a room for classrooms and that sort of thing. But now fortunately for us, an event space on the campus there. So and the museum. And then on day three, we'll have the Key Tour and Phoenix Park. We will walk out on the tour. It'll be a walking tour. But by the time we get to the end of our walk, we'll have traced a vector just away from the hotel. So we'll take a bus back. The Key Tour is another one of their trips. Of the James Joyce Centre, and you go along O'Connell Bridge, which Bloom and Stephen do, and a few other characters throughout the course of the day, and Ormond Quay, which is nearby where the Hotel Ormond was. Which is featured in one of the chapters. It's the setting, as well as the so-called cabman shelter from episode 16 in Ulysses. And just to tell you, so the cabman shelter, what the deal was there was a big temperance movement at the time. So the temperance organizations would set up these shelters, which you could go to if you drove a cab instead of going to a bar. At night. And so that's where Stephen and Leopold Bloom go in episode number 16 for Stephen to sober up a bit. And the Cabman Shelter, that area, this is one of those places that no longer exists. And the streets have been kind of relayed in the last century, but they have it marked as, like here's the location of the Cabman Shelter. And because we'll be with guides from the James Joyce Centre, they'll be able to say, so the historical marker is wrong, and the location in the novel is actually like, 20 yards to the east of the historical marker. And then we're told, of course, Matt and I didn't think of it this way, but the Jameson's Distillery is a must-stop place for people. So we'll dip in there for lunch and just a nip. And then we will probably visit the Famine Monument, which has nothing to do with the novel in particular, but of course is a defining historical event for the country. And then Phoenix Park is where we will end. And that's actually a remarkable place. It's not visited in Ulysses, but it's talked about a whole lot. And in Finnegan's Wake, it's called the most extensive public park in the world. Which is true. It's the largest public set aside, and it's a kind of a wild area. There's wildlife there. There have been some famous murders there, and also it fits into the mythology of Finnegan's Wake. So there's a giant. A giant Finnegan, whose head is supposed to be, he's supposed to be lying on his back, and the Hill of Howth that sticks out into Dublin Bay is supposed to be his head, and there's a particular feature that's supposed to be his nose, and then you're supposed to imagine his body lying on his back, stretched out all across the north of Dublin, and then there's some landform in Phoenix Park that Joyce decided would be the upturned toes of Finnegan, mirroring Finnegan at his wake, and now he's the giant sleeps forever. So Phoenix Park, we'll go in there for a little bit. Then on Thursday, the Lestrygonians tour. This is the James Joyce Centre calls it the Lestrygonians tour because there's an episode, which is the word we use in Ulysses for chapter. There's an episode with the Homeric nickname is Lestrygonians. And it's about eating. It's the chapter where Bloom decides to do something about his hunger. As I say here on my slideshow, what we'll do is we'll trace his path as he goes looking for lunch. And the path will take Middle Abbey Street and will end at the National Library, if I understood Dorina correctly. And this will be one of the highlights of stuff to get that you can bring back. We'll go by Davy Burns, which is where Bloom eats lunch. He rejects another place as being too gross and disgusting, but Davy Burns is a nice, clean place. And Davy doesn't interfere, and he doesn't ask too many questions of you. He doesn't bother you when you're eating. And that's where Bloom stops. And you can still buy this, I read, but I'm not sure you want to. A gorgonzola sandwich with a glass of Burgundy. I'm not sure that would really set a modern person up for the rest of the day, but they still make a point of serving gorgonzola sandwiches there. And then also on this walk, we'll go by Sweeney's Pharmacy, which is evidently still in business. And that is where Bloom buys the cake of lemon soap that he carries around in his pocket all day and keeps forgetting about until he gets a whiff of lemon. And he always has, or he sits on it and thinks like, what is that? Oh, yes, that lemon soap. And if you are a fan of Ulysses, you might at this point raise a hand and say, Kendall, he forgot to pay for the soap. He did not actually buy the soap. So that's one of the things he has to do after the novel closes is go back in and pay for the soap. But guess what? They still sell lemon soap. So you can get that in a tourist ready format. And then the National Library or the National Museum, we're not exactly sure. We're hoping that we'll be able to schedule a discussion section there. And then at Trinity College, we're not sure if we'll do it on Thursday, but we want to do it on one of the days. Is go and have a gander at the Book of Kells, which is on display at Trinity. It's mentioned in Ulysses once, fairly important in Finnegan's Wake. It is an illuminated medieval manuscript. So manuscript means it's one of those beautiful handwritten books from the Middle Ages. Illuminated means that it's got, among other things, gold in it, but also it's very colorful and has some really ornate designs. I can show you some pictures of it in just a little bit if you like. There's a particular book on the Book of Kells that came out in the 20s. And then I'm already feeling sad about getting to the end of the trip. On Friday, we'll forget about Ulysses and Dubliners for a little bit and take a day trip to look at the archaeology that's about an hour away in the Boyne Valley. And the sites, like as Matt said, some of them, Newgrange, and I think also the one at Knuth, they're Neolithic, and so they are older than the pyramids. And then I think the sites at Brunaboyne I think those are the Iron Age sites. That would be where the people are the Gaels, the Irish, that is to say, the direct ancestors of the people who live there now. But they're Indo-European. They were speaking Irish. The last Irish king had his seat of power out there, and this day trip is going to be the source of some of the most striking visual memories that you'll take away from the trip. Just Newgrange is one of these places where they discovered in the 60s that on December 21 or 22 on the winter solstice that the sunlight comes in and shines right smack on the place where the original person was buried deep inside it. Anyway, so that's going to be quite a day to see. And then finally on Saturday we'll be back in Dublin. And we'll go to Glasnevin Cemetery, which is the setting of the Hades episode number 5. No, episode 7, I think it is, in Ulysses. That's where Bloom goes to the funeral of his friend Paddy Dignam, and also he goes there with Stephen Dedalus's dad and a few others in a coach. And they have memorable conversations, and we'll talk about it. But we'll also have a tour of Glasnevin Cemetery, where we will see, among other things, the graves of Charles Parnell, the patriotic leader who fell from grace in the 1890s in Ireland. I believe also Michael, shoot, what's his last name? Michael, somebody help me. Michael, the Patriot, died, who was assassinated in 22 after the nation was founded. There's a movie with Michael. It'll come to me. It's the NyQuil again. But
Is it
anyway,
O'Connell?
what?
Collins. Yeah, there we
Yes,
go.
Michael Collins. Yes, and he's buried there. And there are two or three other Patriot graves there. And then we'll have lunch at the Guinness Storehouse, which I don't know. It may be the second or third time some of you actually get there that week. And then we'll have a farewell dinner on the Hill of Hoth, which is in that it's covered in flowers in the photo that Matt showed us. And the Hill of Hoth sticks out into Dublin Bay. And if I had had a decent map, you imagine the shape of the bay, and at one end of the bay is Martello Tower, where Stephen Dedalus lives, and where episode number one is set. And then the Hill of Hoth, or the Hill of Hoth, is Ulysses never takes place there, but it's what Molly is thinking of on the final pages as she is falling asleep. And this is where she and Bloom first, I think it's like where they first kissed. And there may have been some other firsts shortly before they were married. And it's in some ways, the novel is rooted on the Hill of Hoth, famous for its rhododendrons and earwigs. What else might I say there? Oh no, that's about it. And then, oh yes, and then just I wanted to plug the courses again. And here's the basic info on the courses. And Das ist alles. So thank you for your attention. I'll answer questions about any of that you
So
have.
things like the things like the Guinness Storehouse that we were looking at, that's where this that may change. We may not do it that day. It may happen another day at the end of the day, so people can take the tour if they want to, or people are, too tired and have no interest, then they could go on to other things. But things like that is where the itinerary will change up and such. Um, so yeah, now if anyone has any questions, you can either just raise your hand or put it in chat. We're not a huge group tonight, so we could take questions as they come. And as we wait for questions, Kendall, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Working with the James Joyce Center, these past few months and stuff, what's the thing that you're the most excited about? Since you've been studying these and teaching these novels for quite some time, what kind of has you the most jazzed?
Well, so for some reason, it's the beginning and the end. Martello Tower, I'd like to see very, very much. And I have reasons for that I'll get into in a second. And the Hill of Hoth. Because it's because Hoth it's only ever summoned in memory by the characters, which just enfolds it in a sort of a mist of memory that so like when I go, it's going to be something that I've only experienced as other folks' memories of it, and so I don't know. I'm just looking forward to that. Also, if I can find an earwig. And Martello Tower, one of the things, like I mentioned, is that I want the trip to function for people who have not yet read Ulysses. And generally that means they haven't read beyond chapter 3, because that's the one that stops most people, the one where Stephen's walking on the beach. And I wanted to, get people over that hump. And Martello Tower in episode 1, one of the things, and I just checked this last night because I was thinking, like, well, how do you know that, when you open the book, how do you know where they are? How do you know they're on a place called Martello Tower? Because there's quite a story there. It's a Martello Tower. It's not the Martello Tower. There's a whole series of Martello Towers running up and down the coast. And they were installed back, I think, as William Pitt. So it must be the 1700s, I think, maybe late 16s. And it was just in case the Spanish invaded. You got to guard against that in that part of the world. But they didn't. They never did. So these towers are part of a defensive fortification, but they never were attacked. And so they went through a period of time where they kind of ran down, and then in the late 1800s, the government thought, like we can make some money off of these, and they started renting them out. And so it was a very Spartan, type of existence, perfect for students and Buck Welligan, who's a medical student, and Stephen, who is he's kind of ABD, and he's teaching. But the book, when it starts, it does not say anything about Martello Tower until it is I think it's page 15 in the edition we use in my classes. Yeah, and it's just there's an Englishman staying there. So you've already read 15 pages, and you're wondering, like, you can't figure out, like what's the setting? They're clearly not in a regular room. They're clearly somewhere where they're out of doors, and then they go downstairs and they're indoors. But this is just not explained at all until you get to page 15, where the character named Haynes, the Britishman, says, "Do you pay rent for this tower?" 12 quid, Buck Mulligan said. To the Secretary of State for War, Stephen added over his shoulder. They halted while Haynes surveyed the tower and said at last, "Rather bleak in wintertime, I should say. Martello, you call it?" And then they say, oh, and then I'll read the next one. Billy Pitt had them built, Buck Mulligan said, when the French were on the sea, but ours is the Omphalos. Thought it was the Spanish they were worried about. And so you don't know that until you get to page 15. Now, if you were from Dublin, you probably would have figured it out really fast just by the way they were talking, because it's such a known landform. And like I say, it's not the only one around. And this is a feature of the novel, is that part of what makes it difficult to read is that it's so specific about places and things in Dublin. And one of the comments that has blown my mind about the novel that I've seen Joyce said after the novel had been out for like 3 or 4 years, and of course, international notoriety was his. He was a big, he was a worldwide name, and he made the comment that he was surprised. And of course, he's being ironic. He was surprised because he had thought that the novel would be of interest only to elderly people who lived in Dublin 25 years before. And indeed, people who were grown-ups in 1904, the setting of the novel, they didn't think it was unclear. They recognized, all of the references, and it just seemed like ordinary. Like, why would anyone be interested in this? But anyway, so Martello Tower, this is what you read for 14 pages. If you're not from Dublin, you have no idea. And then you read the name, that they're in a tower. But if you have the local knowledge, then everything snaps into place. And their conversation, or I should say the narration of their conversation, makes a lot more sense. So I'm really excited about Martello Tower because, I've read episode one more than I've read any of the other episodes. From the numerous times I'll say, you know what, I should reread Ulysses. And then I get 50 pages into it, and then life intervenes. But so for some reason, I really really want to see Martello Tower, and I'd go over there just for that, I think.
I have a question that is sort of an additional possibility for the trip if there's time. I have friends who live in Ireland who told me not to miss the Epic Museum, which is a relatively new museum in Dublin, and it's gotten rave reviews. And so I'm just going to throw that out there as a possible stop during maybe a little bit of free time during the tour. I see it's pretty packed, but it's something that I want to see. So if we don't have the time, I would make arrangements to stay an extra day to go to it. So just
Yeah.
want to throw.
Did you say epic, like
The Epic Museum.
the Iliad is an epic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently it is a museum that focuses on the emigration of the Irish worldwide. So,
Cool. I'll
Yeah,
go
I
with
looks
you.
think
like
that's something
okay.
that was on our radar, and I want to talk. We're working with a travel provider for the buses and all that kind of stuff. That's something that I've been talking to him about. If we're not able to fit that in, I don't know how long it takes to go through and that sort of thing. I wouldn't mind doing something where, I'm happy to stay on an extra day and join people who want to do that, or the day before.
Great.
I mean, I'm
Okay,
willing to doing
sounds
that. So yeah, if anyone's interested, anything that's not in the itinerary, if you want to reach out to me and say, hey, I'd really like to see X, Y, we could see if we could either slip it in, if there's time, or maybe we could, just one-on-one talk to people and say, hey, if you want to stay longer, arrive earlier, we could add these
well, I'm
things.
actually going to arrive early. I'm going to the west of Ireland for a few days to visit these friends, and then I'll come back to Dublin to hook up with the group. But
Nice.
so
Yeah, we
maybe I
can
can,
we can
yeah.
do that for the
Let's,
day after. We can plan on something if it
okay,
doesn't
thank
get
you.
stuck in the into the trip itself.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Kendall.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mary.
Jeffrey.
Hi, everybody. I was curious about the nature of the format with the James Joyce Center. Like, do we get one person from the James Joyce Center the whole week? Are they with us, or do we meet with them at the sites? You just, speak on that if they're like going to be
Sure.
with us from the hotel and walking with us all the time.
Well, I know we at least have two because we've been talking to two folks. One's a director, and another's a guy named Josh, who's PhD in Joyce, and I want to say is probably the second in command there. They told us they also have guides that will probably be at our disposal. They also have surprises they're hoping to work on, things like people who can give talks or like music things. So they're working to see, in their sphere who might be interested in joining us. So I know I could say for certain there's at least two of them. Hopefully there'll be more popping up. They'll be with us for all the walking tours and probably most of the time. We're trying to get them to give talks about their own subjects that they've studied. If we go to, there's a play at the Abbey Theater that is yet to go on sale, but we're hoping to include that. I'm hoping they'll join us for that. I'm hoping they'll join us for dinners. They'll certainly be invited to everything. They will not want to go to the Boyne Valley Day because they have an event that Friday. There's that Friday night in Dublin is sort of a Dublin Arts monthly event that they take part in, which when we're back from the Boyne Valley, we could, explore. But they won't, I know they're not going to join us on Friday, but I get the impression that they may be interested to join us for other things and such. So
And basically, we expect them, like from our conversations with them, Jeffrey, like they will be like Iris and John in Greece, like the
Got it.
local. Except their expertise is Joyce, and the fact that they live in Dublin and it's not a big place, so they seem to know everything, and when they don't, they know a guy there, you know.
we'll
Great.
have
Thank you.
another guide for the when we go to the Boyne Valley. It'll be a guide that knows just those locations. So that'll be a totally different thing.
Yeah. And let me say, so Josh's area of specialization in Joyce, and he teaches a class at the center. I think it comes around like once a year, and it's on Dubliners, and it's the socio-cultural context. So in other words, it's exactly complementary to the way we read books in the basic program, where we're like, the text, the text, the text, and then he's good for the context. And so I'm hoping to learn a lot from him. And then Dorina Gallagher, the director, it turns out that her specialization is the music in Joyce, which in Ulysses there's a whole lot of music. And it's really relevant, as I found out well after the class started this year. That and so her thing is not just the music, but then it sounds like, well, she certainly has a friend who is a musician who performs songs on Bloomsday. He's got a standing gig where he rents a charter bus, and he's the guy at the mic, and he narrates, for tourists as they drive around looking at everything, and then he sings, to the folks on the bus. But Dorina evidently plays an instrument as well. And so that's possible that they will entertain us with songs from Ulysses, and Dubliners has some songs in it too. And that's Dorina. So between Dorina and Josh, they bring something that no basic program instructor, at least known to me, has brings to stuff.
Yeah, they also have ties with people like the National Library, the Museum of Literature. So that's where we're hoping to get that. Well, we're working with them on that behind the scenes. There is one place, the Glasnevin Cemetery, for instance, though, they're not allowed to tour there. That's the Glasnevin has that pretty much locked down with their guides and stuff. So, but they may come with us to kind of say, hey, look over there, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Marty, let me ask you to unmute. There you go.
A couple of things. Kendall, I
Yes,
disagree
sir.
with you. I think that gorgonzola on dark bread is great.
All right then.
And when we get together, there's a story that goes with it. But what I wanted to say
Well,
is
I'll join you. I'll join you.
great.
I'll try it out.
A friend gave me this. It's the CD of Ulysses, read by somebody called Jim Norton, who's outstanding. I'm sure he was a stage actor or an actor, and he does all the different characters in their own voices, so you can follow that a lot more easily than on just the blank page, where for me it's difficult knowing who's interjecting what. So if anybody's interested, what does it say? I'm probably Amazon, hate to say it. Naxos, Naxos.
Oh, Naxos, yeah, like
You
Greece.
know of it?
Well, it's an island. It's a Greek island.
Oh, yeah. That
Here's
looks
the
like the
word.
name of the
Typed it in the
company.
chat there.
Or Naxos Audio Books.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's quite old, but it's read by Jim Norton with Marcella Reardon. Just thought
Nice.
I'd throw that in.
Thanks, Marty.
Thanks. It was something to listen to on the plane.
Yeah.
How long does that take? Does it say, is it take 24 hours to read the whole thing?
It does take
That
some.
would be perfect. I don't know. No, I'm pretty sure it's more than that. Total time, wow. 40
Wow.
to 75 hours and 42. Maybe that's why I'm dragging my feet a little bit,
Yeah.
if I can be forgiven. Yeah.
And let me say, the year-long course on Ulysses, Mary's here. She's in the course. Uh, we do not read too much each week. So if you're wanting to get through Ulysses, the Monday morning course will get you through in bite-sized. I don't want to say chunks, bite-sized morsels. Thanks, Marty. Mary?
I'm asking. Yeah, there we go.
And the other thing is, the RTE players, who is like public radio in Ireland, they have episode by episode the whole Ulysses, and it's a number of different players. So likewise, you hear the voices because looking at the page, you can't tell who's talking. But Kendall's right, and going through it slowly has been pretty good, except for the last one, which took 4 weeks. And I don't know, we're finally on to Penelope. Yay!
And Penelope is the final chapter in Ulysses. It's dedicated to Molly. It's only her voice, but it's her thoughts. It's as she's falling asleep. And for the sake of the James Joyce's Dublin study tour, let me remind you that Molly's first and last word is yes. So if we want to close our information session on anything, it would be
Yes.
the answer yes.
Cool.